Hey y'all, and welcome to Politibrawl. My name is Brian, and Trump's press secretary roasts the CNN host so hard that she had to cut her mic and end the interview prematurely. This is wild. But before we dive in, I want to give a quick shout out to our great sponsors over at Colonial Metals Group. They quite literally have the cure to Bidenflation and Harris economics, but more on that later. Now, let's dive in.
To house migrants. So is he then okay with moving disaster relief funds for dealing with migrants, but now is not? Is that what you're saying?
What President Trump didn't do is allow an open border policy for 4 years, allowing nearly 20 million illegal people into the country, stressing our public infrastructure in cities across the country, using taxpayer dollars to fund illegals and put them in luxury hotels like we've seen in New York City, to give them prepaid debit cards to buy clothing and food when the American people are suffering from the
It's
worst
okay for
inflation
Donald Trump
crisis
to do it. It is not okay for the Biden administration to do it. Caroline, it's okay. Donald Trump did that. Donald Trump did that in 2019, his administration.
President Trump did not allow an invasion of illegal immigrants into our country again and use billions of dollars to fund them in housing, to put them into luxury hotels. What he did do is use federal funding to deport them back to their home countries, which is something that Kamala Harris is refusing to do. And she has still yet to answer the question that if she is elected president in 28 days, what is she going to do with the 20 million illegal people that she has allowed into this country, including the convicted criminals? We know there's 425,000 convicted criminal illegal aliens in this country today. Kamala has yet to say whether or not she will deport them or keep them here and continue to use federal funding to house them and to give that, subsidize their lifestyle on the taxpayer's dime. President Trump won't tolerate that. He's going to launch the largest mass deportation operation in American history, and he will ensure that American citizens are being put first by their federal government, that their tax dollars are going to them in times of need. And this is not the first time we've seen the White House and the Biden-Harris administration botch a crisis. We saw it in Afghanistan. They left Americans behind there. We saw it in East Palestine, Ohio, where Kamala Harris never visited and Joe Biden took months to actually go to tour the devastation from the train derailment. We saw it in Maui, Hawaii, where residents are still saying the federal government was not there to help them. This situation is no different, and we will take the word of residents in North Carolina and Florida and Georgia who have been left behind over the word of this administration, which has repeatedly been caught in lies.
Also, the word of a Republican member of Congress who says that these rumors that Donald Trump has been pushing, in part, the things he's been saying is not true. You say that you haven't heard Kamala Harris answer a question. I'm just going to leave it here. But I'm not hearing you answer the question of why it was okay for the Trump administration to use disaster relief funds in order to deal with migrants in 2019, and it is now completely not okay and something he's hitting the administration on now. We're going to leave it there because I offered you 3 times to give me the answer, and I'm not getting it.
Oh, congratulations, honey. Good for you. You cut the mic of someone. You are strong and powerful. What a girl boss. Good grief. If you actually believe that for a moment, I'm sorry. I don't know what to say to you. So, I'm going to explain what all's going on here, but first, notice the difference in responses to major catastrophes. All right, let's see. There is a massive wildfire in let's see, how do I pronounce it? Lahaina, Hawaii, where Democrats could have warned their own citizens, but in order to not cause a panic, they did nothing. And then people's lives were now put at risk because of it. Then you have a president who waits weeks to go there, even though it's a Democrat-heavy state, and he got booed to bits when he arrived. Then you have a train derailment because of bad oversight of both the federal government and the actual institutions that they have inside their own spaces for the railroad companies. And there wasn't. It took them months to even get out there. I don't even think not Barack. I can't even remember Joe Biden visiting. I think he did. But the first guy to go out there was someone named Donald Trump. Hey, y'all. I'm not exactly looking at retirement anytime soon. But my parents are, and friends of my parents are, and I'm sure either you or someone you know is looking at retirement and wondering, what do I do? How do I help prepare for this in this economy with this terrible president and with a vice president who basically coup d'etat him and is now looking to run for president herself? How do you protect against this? Well, simple. you go over to my friends at Colonial Metals Group. They quite literally have something called the Retirement Package Plan. This plan backs your wealth with gold and silver accounts. And furthermore, you will have direct access to these accounts. So you're not at the whims of Wall Street. You're not at the whims of inflation. You are in command of your own destiny. As a bonus, qualified applicants can receive up to $10,000 in free silver, plus a couple of other little goodies that they're going to package up for you, and you're going to be able to protect your wealth and your retirement. So go over to this link in the description below at colonialmetalsgroup.com or call this number 800-203-0422 and see how they can help you prepare for retirement today by backing your account with gold and silver. Don't delay your retirement, folks. Protect the money that you earned with Colonial Metals Group. They're here to help. It's almost as if, and then, sorry, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. And then you have a major disaster in 2024. During a La Nina event, and this will be very important later, in the middle, not in the middle, towards the end of the hurricane season, when this is actually the most dangerous time for hurricanes. And the presidential response and the candidate for president's response has been putrid at best. And furthermore, Alejandro Mayorkas, under the Biden administration, was forced to admit that they've allocated funds towards other things in order to maintain the spending for the end of the year. And so the mainstream media heard that and went, wait a minute, we have to run point for the Biden administration, and we have to run point for Kamala Harris. So wait a minute, let's look at our notes. Let's look at our notes. Donald Trump reallocated funds from FEMA to the Department of Homeland Security for migrants in 2019. Boom! We owned you, conservatives. Except that's not what happened. And before I get into that, in order to be as fair and balanced as I can be, I constantly talk about body language and liar face. When you see someone blinking a lot when they're trying to talk, it means they're trying to do a handful of things. They're trying to reorient themselves, they're trying to deflect, and they're trying to remember how to properly lie and keep things in track. What's happening here is she's deflecting. This is Trump's press secretary, and she's doing a decent job, but in those situations, you gotta control your body language a little more. So what she said was true. What she couldn't say is what I'm about to explain. In 2024, we are in the middle of something called a La Nina event. This happens after a major El Nino event. Ironically enough, in the winter of 2018 and 2019, there was a very weak El Nino event. In 2023, there was a very strong El Nino. What happens after those years, typically the jet stream moves back north, and you get usually a harsher hurricane season in the Caribbean. That did not happen in 2019, and when forecasters all said, hey, we are not looking at a heavy hurricane season, they turned out to be 100% correct. Donald Trump then said, I am going to allocate some funds to the Department of Homeland Security so we can actually deal with the migrant problems. This included deportation. This included allocations of funds to make sure these migrants are going to the detention centers and, more importantly, that they're actually showing up for their court dates. In my opinion, that's money well spent in order to have a proper system. My real question is, why weren't the funds being well used before? And why did we have to reallocate funds instead of putting that extra money into a slush fund and save it for a literal rainy day? That's my question. That's my only criticism here. Compare that to the 2024 cycle, where forecasters are quite literally telling you for months that bad hurricanes are on their way. And by about August, they came to the same conclusion that they did in 2019. And so Joe Biden's administration told Alejandro Mayorkas, hey, here's a pot of money, use that. Well, lo and behold, the worst of hurricane season was yet to come. We have had two major hurricanes hit in the past week. All right, sorry, within a week of each other. You had Hurricane Milton in Florida and I can't believe Hurricane Helene. that absolutely swamped an entire path from the Florida Panhandle through Georgia, South Carolina, and dumping at least a foot of rain in the Appalachian Mountains in the Great Smokies, causing the worst flooding they have ever seen, probably since we started settling there. So you had a rare event, but a predictable one. And so the FEMA money has not been there in 2020 because instead of allocating that money for potential disasters, which any good forecaster would have said, hold on to that money, see what you can use with it later. Instead, the Biden administration gave it to Mayorkas, who continued to squander the money. So ultimately, this is a left-wing liberal media, a mainstream outlet, directly lying to its people by omitting the truth, omitting the context. And it is not easy to say what I just said in a quick soundbite. So of course you're going to have this blinking face from Trump's press secretary because she's trying to change the narrative and at least remind people in a quick and concise way of the differences between a Trump and Biden administration. That's what you need to do on national media. And it's my job to give a little extra context where I can. The difference between a Democrat and Republican administration is black and white. Ultimately, what we have seen from Biden is a complete misallocation of your tax dollars. And under Trump, a reallocation to properly use your tax dollars. Which one am I going to trust? And now in 2024, his second in command, Kamala Harris, is now running for office, and Donald Trump is running once again. Who are you going to trust? For me, that answer is very, very simple, and I hope it is for you too. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on Politibrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one, and until then, y'all have a good one.